Iverson's 46th birthday tomorrow. So we're talking about it. When I look back at this draft, and this is before I got into the business, I was in college. Everyone thought this was going to be an incredible draft. Obviously, a lot more focus on Allen Iverson than Kobe Bryant. But from a collecting standpoint, Iverson is in his own class. Kobe, obviously, due to his passing, is there. And a lot of people, frankly, collect Ray Allen as well, because of the big shots that he's had in championships, both with the Heat and the Celtics. We are giving away 2 copies of the February 1997 Slam magazine that has this iconic picture. There's Kobe, who has a cast on his hand, and he's hiding it. And this is just half of it. It folds out. But here you have Marcus Camby and Marbury, Ray Allen, Kobe, Sharif Abdur-Rahim. These are about $300 now. They are in mint condition. And if you follow the Action Network and retweet our tweet, you'll be eligible to win one of those magazines on us. So it's interesting to me for the 96 class for a couple of reasons. Obviously, the collectability of these guys, but also from a shoe standpoint. Remember, Kobe Bryant signed with Adidas. They had those big clunky shoes. Allen Iverson obviously signed with Reebok, did incredibly well with the question and the answer. And then Kobe Bryant signed with Nike. I remember that Reebok was very, very close to signing Kobe Bryant. Like, I had written the story close, and then he flip-flopped to Nike, and the rest is history. Have a cool thing I wanted to show you as far as collectability goes. So this is a ticket, the highest graded ticket to the 1996 draft that I own. I'm not giving this away. And it's just amazing to me that a ticket to a draft obviously has, some collectability. Knowing that, we have Iverson, his birthday, Kobe, we've talked about, and his collectability, especially a couple weeks ago with him going to the Hall of Fame. We wanted to talk about this NBA draft class from 1996 coming up on the 25th anniversary. And so to do that, we sat down with Sean Morgan of Famous Inc. He has a deal with Allen Iverson, and he's been in the industry for a very long time, to talk about Iverson and the 1996 draft class. And joining us now is Sean Morgan of Famous Inc. Does an awesome job with autographs in the industry. Sean, we're doing a show on the 1996 NBA draft. We're tilting a little bit towards Allen Iverson since his birthday's coming up. You've dealt with Allen for a while. What is so appealing about Allen Iverson to fans? Because I feel like he's in a place that not many people are.
He is. I think a lot of people underestimate how iconic he is, not just in this country, but worldwide. I mean, worldwide, he's as big as they come. I think the easy answer is just his authenticity. I mean, the guy is, what you see is what you get. No different, whether you know him and work with him, or if you bump into him on the street. I mean, you're just going to get Allen all the time. And he's a very, very real, very, very sincere guy. I think a lot of people they make assumptions, and he's not at all what I think a lot of people assume. He's actually, like I said, a really, really good, really sincere guy, always very, very appreciative of everything you do for him and tells you. I think, like I said, it comes down to one word: authenticity. And I don't know if anybody's more authentic than Allen.
I think if you look at the place that he holds in basketball history, where he fell in his time, it's hard to say like who is exactly like him. There's almost no one. I mean,
No.
had the speed of Westbrook going up and down the floor, but there were a lot of elements of Allen that you really can't find in a Russell Westbrook or somewhere else. So the fact that there isn't like a person who is definitely him of this generation, how much do you feel that helps him stand out?
Not that it's always a bad thing, but I think so many of today's superstars, especially, I feel like every word that comes out of their mouth is pre-planned and plotted and scripted by 17 advisors, and absolutely everything they do and say and wear and think is just part of a brand. And listen, there's a place for that. That's great. But I think Alan's brand is being Alan. No one was going to tell Alan who or what to do, or what to think, or what to wear, what to say. It just, that's just not going to happen with Allen Iverson. He's going to be Alan all the time.
And that manifested itself obviously with Larry Brown. I mean, maybe one of the biggest challenges of Larry Brown's career, who coached everywhere, was Allen at times. He was probably the easiest and the hardest. And famously, we're talking about practice 50 times, which in a way is like a rant. That rants don't always come off well for your career and your brand. But I think Allen there, I mean, people know exactly what he's saying in his frustration. And I think that did wonders for him, actually, in his authenticity.
Well, he actually told me something about that one time, because obviously we get the request all the time for him to inscribe that, and he will not do it.
We're talking about practice or practice.
He will not.
Right.
And it was funny because one time I said to him, why? I said, we could really capitalize on it.
I think is this that he was talking about it in context of someone who died, and it's never talked about in that way?
And
go ahead.
When he shared that with me, I was, really shocked, and totally understood why he's not interested in capitalizing on it. Because, the world only heard him saying, we're talking about practice, and took it as, I'm a superstar. And the irony of it being, no one played harder, as you said earlier, when you were talking about just his game, no one played harder for 48 minutes than Allen Iverson. So you see guys, all the time, now, and even back then, not as much back then, but, especially now, you see guys taking plays off, not hustling back on defense. Allen Iverson never did that. He gave you everything he had every night. And so people took it as he's saying, why do I need to be a practice? I'm a superstar. That wasn't at all what it was. He was in his mind, and others didn't know, certainly the media didn't know, he was sitting there, hurt that a friend had just died.
Yeah.
I got to
talking about practice. That's what we're talking about.
I'm sitting there answering questions about practice. I'm the superstar of the team. I'm a league MVP. And I'm sitting here talking to you about practice, but he just had a friend die. He doesn't care about practice.
I always love this insight, and you brought it up. Are there other things he won't sign? Will he not sign these stepping over Tyronn Lue? Are there other things?
Oh no, he signs that. Really, practice is the only thing that I've ever heard him say no to. I mean, every now and again we get ridiculous inscription requests and something disrespectful. Somebody wanted Lawrence Taylor the other day to write Ray Who, talking about Ray Lewis, and he's like, I'm not writing that. That's just disrespectful. Ray's a friend of mine.
Right.
So I mean, anything like that, players always pass on. But yeah, that's the only reasonable one I've ever seen Alan say no to. So.
We're talking about the rest of the 96 class as well, because it's coming up on the 25th anniversary. You of course have Kobe, you have Allen, you have Steve Nash, you have Ray Allen, you have Ben Wallace, who went undrafted. So that's 5. I mean, that's it. That is, arguably the best draft class of all time. And all those guys are pretty collectible. Maybe not. I mean, maybe not Nash as much for who he was, but on the scale of things, obviously Kobe's death brought him to, a level that even I couldn't imagine. But where do those guys fall?
Nash has never really signed. I think he did maybe one small signing when he was a player. So in that sense, he'd be a great get. And I know people have been trying, but yeah, like you said, due to the market, et cetera, he's a guy that you'd love to get once, but you're not going to be doing consistently. Ray, obviously.
And by the way, that's not a fault to Nash. I mean, it's basically like, I mean, yeah, obviously now he's with the Nets, but yeah, I mean, Mavericks, Suns, you think about those as far as historical. He was, he counts as like a half Laker. He's not really, he really hasn't been on the, the major teams that you get into. How about Ray? Is impossible, right?
No big markets and no championships. And, again, everybody can win one, but it's just, it affects the desire.
Ray Allen has never signed.
Ray is signed. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Between the championship in Boston and then the shot in Miami. Yeah, he's very collectible.
Okay. And Ben Wallace coming up.
Yeah, he will be. Again, a guy who's more of a defensive player, so more falls into that Rodman mold.
Yes.
He'll be always relatively inexpensive, but will sell. Fans. It's funny. Fans notoriously love a guy who's gritty and a defensive player and all that, but their value is just different.
Right. And then what's your thoughts on Kobe and the collectability of him right now?
As crazy as it may sound, I actually think right now Kobe's underpriced.
I agree.
Because, I don't know why Jordan would be more than Kobe. This isn't a conversation about them as players. This is a conversation about Michael Jordan could be signing autographs for the next 40 years.
Right. That's true.
Young and will never sign again, obviously.
Right.
So for that reason, I think he should be at least as much as Jordan, if not more. I mean, a guy like Jordan chooses not to do it a lot. But if next year Jordan called Upper Deck and said, you know what, change of plan, let's sign 10,000 things this year, they're going to sign them.
Right.
Now, he probably won't, but he certainly could. Anytime one guy has full control over the value of something, you want to be careful with that. But yeah, I actually think Kobe's underpriced.
What do you think of the market right now in general? Obviously, you've seen a cut of maybe 30% in the card market since the peak in February. Where do you see things from where you are?
It's really hard to say. I'm not so much a card guy as a memorabilia guy. I do think
memorabilia is certainly undervalued to cards. I mean, you look at these.
Sure.
You look at these small cards and what they're selling for on eBay or other auctions where you have, the small cut of the jersey and, you have a Luka Doncic card that the guy put on the jersey for 2 seconds at a rookie premiere. And then you have a signature that might be questionable and it sells for 4.6 million. Like, what's real on that card of the piece of card?
That's the irony of it. I mean, I've, during my time at Fanatics, I was involved in some of those rookie premieres and, these companies were very loose with what they want to deem.
I watched them, man. I mean, like they literally put them on, took them off. That's it.
Event used, game. Yeah. They're very loosey goosey with some of those terms. But yeah, I think everybody knew there had to be a bubble, and I think most people just don't know how much of this market is falsely inflated.
We're coming up to National next month. What are your thoughts on what we'll see there? I've talked a lot about the tickets game. What else? You think memorabilia will move up a little bit more? You think people will care more about autographs?
Yeah, I'm bringing a bunch of players into the autograph pavilion. I think it's going to be a great show. Like I said, here tonight, it was pretty busy for a Friday afternoon when I was over. There wasn't even evening yet. So, I think it's going to be huge. It's nice to hear that it's going to be full capacity and we can kind of get back to normal life, so to speak.
Who's the hottest guy that you have that you think will do well in the next 4 to 6 months?
Well, we have Jamar appearing here this weekend, and I mean, I just think this kid has all the tools and he wants to work. You see guys that they get the money or they start to get some fame, notoriety, and it goes to their head. I mean, he was out of football for he sat out last season because of COVID, and I mean, he just grinded. I mean, all the kid wants to do is work. He's been in Cincy with Joe Burrow working ever since the draft. I think that team's got a lot of talent. They may need one more draft to really get where they need to go, but I think that team is really going to be good.
Pretty awesome to have the QB wide receiver combination from college into the pros. That happened a couple times this year.
Yeah, Urban's going to have the same thing down in Jackson.
Yeah, I know.
Really cool.
Sean Morgan of Famous Inc. Thanks so much. You gave us a lot of insight here.
Anytime. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sean Morgan of Famous Inc. Check out his company. Check out his website. I've done a couple signings that he's done. I've engaged with, and really, really good product and gets things done for you. We are giving away 2 copies of the 1997 February Slam magazine with this famous picture of the 1996 NBA draft class. And we do have the winners. The winners are Mike Narayan and Marty McFly, Marcus McLeod. So you two guys will get in touch with our producers and we will send you that magazine. By the way, I did neglect to say in our intro, talking about, I knew I missed someone, Steve Nash. And one of the things I would just say about Steve Nash is we talked in the interview about Allen Iverson and how hard he played. Watching Steve Nash practice is the weirdest thing I've ever seen, because I mean, Steph Curry has a warm up and it's popular and people watch it and blah, blah. But like when you looked at Steve Nash and the way he warmed up, talking about practice and all of that, he warmed up at an intensity that I almost worried about. Like, how is he possibly playing the game after this? So Steve Nash, obviously a Hall of Famer, a huge part of this draft class, and came 2 picks after Kobe Bryant. Peja Stojakovic actually in between him and Kobe Bryant. And just, yeah, Nash is obviously a huge part of this. So that's 1996 draft class. Iverson at 1, Marbury at 4, Ray Allen at 5. Then you had Kobe Bryant at 13, Nash at 15. And then obviously Ben Wallace going to Hall of Fame next year, undrafted. I love this class. And obviously the draft will be 1 month later because of the schedule, but 25th anniversary of the 1996 NBA draft coming up on June 26th. And Allen Iverson's birthday tomorrow. Go check out eBay, go buy some stuff. Hope we got you thinking about this amazing class on its anniversary and Iverson's birthday. This is the Buyer's Market presented by eBay. For Christina Ventura and Evan Abrams and all of the Action Network, I'm Darren Rovell. Good night.